BTEC Level 2 Tech Award in Health and Social Care. This is for Component 1, Human Lifespan Development, Life Events, Learning Aim B, PowerPoint 1. Throughout this PowerPoint, we will be looking at different life events and how they can affect people. Having a supportive family and friends is important for everybody. As we pass through life and our life stages, we face a whole range of events that will affect aspects of our growth and development, and we will be discussing these throughout the PowerPoint. Your first task is to think very carefully about as many things as possible that we expect to happen throughout our lifespan. So stop the PowerPoint and make a few notes on as many of those things you can think of as possible. So I'm now going to discuss some of the expected life events, things that we expect to happen as they happen to most people. It obviously doesn't mean absolutely everybody must go through it, but this is for most people. So here are some of these. For example, we all expect to start school. We leave school. Most of us will move house. Most of us will enter employment. Most of us will retire. Most will get married or have a civil ceremony. Most will live with a partner, and most will experience parenthood. Expected life events are predicted. We sort of expect that they're going to happen throughout our lifespan. Some that are predicted are easily managed. So, for example, if you know that you're going to start school, your parents, your teachers can prepare you for that stage. If you know that you're going to get married, you can plan and prepare and make sure it's your perfect wedding day. However, these are expected and can be planned. The opposite is unexpected. We don't know they're going to happen and therefore have to deal with them in a different way. Unexpected life events. These are life events that we do not plan. They could happen to us at any point in our life stage, and they will affect us and impact us in a different way than if we had planned for it. So an example of an unexpected life event is a close relative dies in a car accident. This could have short-term and long-term impacts upon you. If you could stop the PowerPoint now and list as many unexpected life events as possible. So list as many things you think that could happen to you but aren't planned. Here are some expected life events. For example, death of a partner, death of a friend or relative, accident or injury, ill health, unemployment, imprisonment, promotion in a job, and exclusion or dropping out of education. Did you have any of these? Here are some life events. Expected life events, examples of when they occur. In early childhood, we do expect to start school. In adolescence, we expect to finish school or education. In early adulthood, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to leave home, get married or in a relationship, have kids, get employment. In later adulthood, we expect to retire. So as you can see, there are some examples of when these expected life events can happen in relation to our life stages. Expected and unexpected life events can bring along challenges, and we may need support to deal with them. Support can be split into two groups. You can have formal support, which are people that are trained and qualified in providing that level of support. For example, a nurse, a doctor, a healthcare assistant, a physiotherapist. Informal support are people that are not trained but are able to assist you, such as with emotional help, or perhaps going to collect your shopping, or helping out around the house. And that's friends, family and relatives, and perhaps even neighbours. Now we're going to look at some physical events that could affect us. For example, ill health. Minor illnesses such as a cold don't really affect us. We may have to sit at home sniffing and blowing our nose. We might feel a little bit sad for a day or three, but overall it doesn't have that much impact on our life. However, long-term illnesses such as long COVID or an illness such as cancer can have a major impact on our growth and development, and they can affect us in many different ways. Most illnesses will be unexpected, although inherited illnesses such as asthma or cystic fibrosis may be expected and prepared for. Some conditions may be chronic and last a person's whole life. So chronic is long term, acute is short term. So how can ill health affect us? In infancy, it can affect the rate of growth and our development, can impact on how quickly we learn to crawl or walk. In childhood, chronic illnesses such as diabetes or asthma may require children to attend hospital. It may mean that they have to miss out on school or going out with their friends. In adolescence, it can have an effect on how they feel about themselves, how they cope with puberty, their self-esteem and self-image. In adulthood, illness may result in time off work, not being able to go to work, might not be able to take part in a particular sport or go out with your friends. And again, that can also affect self-esteem. But it can also affect your money, so the income you earn. So if you're not attending work, you won't be making a wage, and it can affect your lifestyle. In later adulthood, it can affect mobility and independence. You may need to rely on others to help you. You may need to leave their home. So an older person may need to leave their home and go into a residential care home for extra support, which could really be upsetting for them. Accidents and injuries. We never expect an accident to happen, so they're an unexpected life event. They can affect a person's mobility and often impact on their independence. That means they may need to rely on people to assist them for the short term or long term. It can have a long-term impact on their mobility and appearance. For example, somebody in a car accident may no longer be able to walk or may have physical scars. It could take them a long while to learn how to cope with their life change. It could have physical and psychological consequences. After an accident, people may miss school or work. It could impact on their learning. It could impact on them learning new skills. It could impact on their wages and earnings. Can impact on grades, job prospects. So it's very, very important to understand that these life events do have a massive impact on people that are experiencing them. So I need you to stop the PowerPoint and I need you to answer this question here. How physical events may impact on growth and development. We have Tom here, and as you can see, he has prosthetic legs. Tom stood on a bomb in Afghanistan, and this resulted in him losing both of his legs and had shrapnel injuries to his torso and arms. I want you to do a grid with physical, intellectual, emotional, and social, and I want you to write notes in each of those boxes on how you think the situation he's in now with prosthetic legs and shrapnel injuries, how you think that has affected him physically, intellectually, emotionally and socially, and get your teacher to check your answers. We're now going to move on to relationship statuses. Relationships can be viewed important by many individuals. However, if a relationship breaks down, this can have a huge impact on a person's emotional and social development. Relationships can be both positive and negative. Again, I'd like you to stop the PowerPoint and have a go at answering this question. What causes relationships to change? Think about what can cause a relationship to break down and jot your notes down. Again, this may be a good idea to share with your teacher. Bereavement. So this is losing someone and being upset about losing someone. One of the hardest things to go through and cope with is the death of someone close to you. People will learn to grieve in different ways, and it can have a considerable impact on their emotional health for a long, long while. Some deaths may be expected. For example, if you have a family member that's been ill for a long period of time, you may be expecting their life to come to an end. However, if someone has died unexpectedly, for example, killed in a car crash, suddenly had a heart attack, it was not expected, it could take longer to come to terms with. New relationships. Relationships are important for our emotional and social development. People have relationships at different life stages. For example, in early childhood, people make friends with those that they perhaps sit with in class or perhaps play with regularly on play dates or at school. Adolescence, you tend to widen your social circles. You have close friendships and intimate relationships with those who have similar interests and values. In fact, in adolescence, you tend to have your first intimate relationship. Building a new relationship that's based on mutual understandings, trust and loyalty can result in positive self-image and high self-esteem. Friends are really, really important. They help give us a sense of belonging. It enables us to share our interests. They can make us feel very, very happy too. Another question I'd like you to have a go at answering. Again, you can share this with your teacher at the end of the PowerPoint. What is the importance of a close or intimate relationship? How can it help you emotionally? Have a go at answering that. How can a close or intimate relationship help you feel emotionally? So I don't want you to consider physically, intellectually, or socially, just emotionally. Marriage, this is a major change in anyone's life. It means adapting to life as a couple, so learning how to live together, changing your lifestyle to an extent, so you might need to adapt it slightly, moving with them, or you might have to find different ways of doing things. Marriage or commitment to a long-term partnership can be positive. It can really help you, give you a sense of belonging, make you feel loved and secure. It can help improve your self-esteem and self-image. It can help provide sexual intimacy. These are all essential for emotional development. Divorce. After the death of a spouse or a long-term partner, divorce comes second in the level of impact on a person's emotional development. Divorce can impact the people that are going through the divorce, and if there are children, it can also have a massive emotional impact on those children too. Strong family ties provide stability. If the relationship breaks down, this can lead to insecurity for the people involved. It can cause great upset within a family situation. There can then come a lack of security and poor self-image, which can lead to people feeling ill. It can affect social development, as there is a loss of friendships, especially when people have mutual friends. And also there's a loss of wider family networks. So your in-laws, for example, that you perhaps speak to on a daily basis, will no longer be there for you. Parenthood. Parenthood usually brings positive emotions of joy and fulfillment. However, it's also really, really hard to be a parent, especially of a newborn baby. Parents will have to change their whole lifestyles and routines. No longer can you just walk out the house and go perhaps down the road to the post office or pop out for a McDonald's. You will have to completely change your way of thinking. You will have to get the baby ready, make sure you've got spare clothes and spare nappies, and also then get yourself ready. So it is a lot trickier than just being single and having no children. New responsibilities for another person can create anxiety, especially if the person is single and has no one to share their worries with. It can mean that you have less time for yourself. You no longer continue your interests. Your time is taken up with your child. There are added pressures as well. So if you have young children and you're at work, it can be very difficult. Lack of sleep can put pressure on partnership or marriage, affecting emotional development. Life circumstances. Life circumstances that are particularly difficult will have negative effects on development, but as people come to terms with the event, they may also see some positive effects. Your next task is about positive and negatives for the following. So I want you to think about what are the positives and negatives of moving house, starting school, getting excluded from school, redundancy, imprisonment, and retirement. So stop the PowerPoint, have a go answering these and show your teacher afterwards. Dealing with life events. Reactions can vary with individuals. The effects depend on how well individuals deal with the loss of a previous routine or lifestyle and take on a new situation. Some people are more resilient than others. So resilient means that they are able to handle and deal with challenging situations better than others. How we react to life events. You may find that some friends react to life events such as changing school by isolating themselves, but this is usually because they miss you or miss old school friends, or they're worried about making new friends in their new school. However, others may have welcomed the opportunity to meet new people and can quickly chat away to other people, making new friendships. These differences may be because of their disposition, so their mood, attitude, and general nature. However, some people may be shy and withdrawn and find it harder to do. Some people may also cope with different life events and circumstances thrown at them because of their age. They might have learnt how to cope better as they've aged. Their resilience, how quickly they recover from something and persevere. Their self-esteem may be higher. Their disposition, so their character, the support they have, or other life events happening at the same time. If you've got lots of bad things happening at the same time, you're probably less likely to cope than if you've only got one bad thing that you're trying to concentrate on at a time. How we react to change. Some people find change very difficult. Change is about starting something new and exciting, but it's also the loss of something else, old life. So some people struggle with new changes within their life and must be supported. So we have 4 events here: accident, redundancy, moving house and family, starting a family, and why somebody may find the situation difficult. For an example, accident, somebody may feel a loss of their old self. They may look different and maybe affect their self-image. They may find that they've lost skills and abilities due to their accident or them having to miss time off school or work. Redundancy, somebody losing their job. This is through no fault of their own. It's often financial reasons. They may feel a loss of routine and that they're going to miss their colleagues and friends. They will have a loss of earnings and this could impact on them negatively. Moving house, people may feel a loss of neighbours that they've had at their previous house. They may feel anxious because of a change of the environment and perhaps what are their new neighbours like. And starting a family, you may feel a loss of independence and you may miss your old lifestyle of being free and independent and able to go out whenever you like. Adapting to change. So expected or unexpected life events will cause your life to change, and the way in which you adapt to those changes will depend a lot on who you are and your personality and how much, let's say, you've got going on in your life. So a loss of relationship or abilities is about letting go of the old life and adapting to the new circumstances. So just another little recap on resilience, which is a person's ability to come to terms with, adapt to events that happen in their life. It's stronger in people who have a positive outlook on life, are able to accept change that will happen to them. They belong to close family and community networks where they can discuss their problems and get reassurance. And those that are able to plan for expected life events. To understand change, change happens throughout our life and our life stages, and some changes can be more frightening than others. People can try to understand the change that they're going through by thinking about how it will affect them and how they can adapt. By doing this, especially how you can adapt, helps you become more in control of what's happening. If a change is very sudden, you might feel less in control and therefore may need more support helping to come to terms with that change. Accepting change. It is impossible for a person to adapt to change unless they can accept what has happened. If they continuously think about the past, they will not be able to move forward. So they could look for the bad points and not the positives, which really will affect them going forward. So they need to start thinking more positively. People may need time to adapt, more time for bereavements or divorce. People can find it hard to move on. Time, however, and it's really a real nightmare when you hear this when you're going through terrible times, but this can be a great healer and can help people accept their loss and adapt to their new life. Types of support. Some people may find it difficult to adapt to change unless support is given. So we're going to talk about some of the support that's in place for them. But it's really important that the right type of support is actually given to those people. It's important to understand that effective support is not about making decisions for people. It's about giving them the confidence that they need to adapt. It's being there for them in times of need. Emotional support. This is essential to help individuals cope with all life events. Emotional support may be given to close friends and family, but some people need professionals to help them deal with more upsetting life events, such as a psychologist or a counsellor or therapist. What emotional help can actually do for you? It can help individuals deal with grief. It can help people come to terms with life changes. It can help reduce anxiety and stress, having someone to talk you through it and discuss what your fears are and why you're experiencing them. It can help self-esteem, and it can also help improve confidence. When life events happen, people often feel like they do not know what to do. Information and advice is important as it helps people to understand where they can go for help, the choices available to them, and how to make these healthy choices. Practical help. Even those who feel able to adapt to their new situation emotionally may actually still need practical help. For example, they may be struggling with an income, so they might need financial help. They might need help with their children's, particular childcare. They need help to transport to get to and from that particular area of support. So just going to talk a little bit more in depth about financial help. People may need money to help them adapt to changes. For example, you've had someone that's had a car accident which has left them disabled, no longer able to work, so they may need financial assistance to help them adapt their home, adapt their car, to help them move around easier and remain some independence. Someone who's lost their job and is unable to provide for their family may need financial assistance to help them get through their crisis. Childcare is another form of practical support. So it may be needed to support parents who have a child with a long-term health condition, or if they're disabled. It can support, for example, a lone parent after a divorce. It can also provide respite care. So those people who have 24-hour care, for example, their child is disabled, it's a very, very hard and tiring job. And respite care gives them a little opportunity for them to ask somebody else who's trained and qualified to look after their child for a short period of time, so that they at least get a short rest. Transport can support people who have mobility problems. For example, those people who are disabled could have cars specially adapted for them, such as the ones in the picture, so that they are still able to get around and remain independent. As I've discussed previously, there are different types of support, and types of support may come from different sources. Some support may be formal and some may be informal, and some may also be voluntary. Formal support. Most people can access a whole range of professional support to help them with life events, such as those that have had physical injuries may get support from doctors or nurses. Those who have got psychological damage or emotional problems may see counsellors. Formal support comes from people who are trained and skilled in their work. So professional sources of support. In some situations, people may need formal support over informal support, as their family members or relatives may not be qualified to support them enough. This is provided by professionals who have the skills and experience to understand and support each person's needs. Professional support for life events. It is likely people will need specialist support following ill health or accidents, or even injuries. People may need the services of specialist doctors and nurses to help support them. It is likely that a person's emotional development will also be affected. Counsellors can provide a listening ear so that people say how they feel about changes to their physical abilities. Relationship changes. Relationship changes can affect a person's emotional and social development. Bereavement and divorce are the two life events that have the greatest impact on people. When somebody dies or their relationship breaks down, they can feel a sense of loss. It can take ages to overcome. Some people may need the help and support of a professional counsellor in addition to family members or partners to help them through the process. Informal support. Family and friends are also able to offer support to others in difficult times. Many people rely on their friends or their partners to help them through difficult times in their lives, discussing with them how they feel and perhaps asking them for advice on what they could do. They can also offer practical support, such as helping with everyday tasks, such as shopping or housework, even personal care. Informal support are not trained for what they do. They don't get paid, they're not qualified or trained in it. They are there just to help because they care. However, the care that they provide is really, really important. Many people, as they get older, rely on family members and informal support to help them remain independent. It is important to know that in the UK there are thousands of people who act as informal support every day. Many of these informal carers are under the age of 16. Spending time with family and friends who are housebound or going through a difficult time in life can be a great source of emotional and social help. Informal support. Support given by your partner or family, relatives or friends is often the first level of support that's given. Informal support is usually given alongside formal support as well. It can help provide people to feel more reassured. It can help provide encouragement. It's there usually to help provide advice, give someone a sense of security, someone to talk through options, and also for practical help. To expand on this and give a little bit more depth, reassurance is if there's been a life change and people are unsure of how it will affect them. A friend or someone with more life experience can reassure them that they'll be able to cope with it, give them that little bit of encouragement that they will be able to do it. And then we move on to encouragement. People are often reluctant to change, but if they have someone that believes in them, they're more likely to accept it and adapt. Advice is where friends and family are often the people who know an individual the best. They're a good source of advice because they will know the person's background, understand their needs, how they cope with things, and provide advice that is individualised. Security. Partners, friends and family can provide individuals with a sense of security. Support from people that are trusted is more likely to give individuals the strength to cope with changing events. Someone to talk to, often partners, friends and family, are there for you to be able to talk through any problems, to express emotions and any concerns that you have. Practical help is some life events mean that the individual cannot continue with their usual way of life and may be given help through providing childcare, helping with transport, shopping, etc. Voluntary support. Local or national groups and charities which support people with a specific need. For example, in our local area, we have Time to Talk, Sussex Mental Health Charity. Nationally, we have the Samaritans, which are a national crisis support centre. It helps with people that are suicidal or in severe emotional distress. These voluntary support run by volunteers, people who give up their time for free, are vital in helping people cope with emotional problems or even physical problems that they're going through. Voluntary sources of support. Organisations offering voluntary support are charities, communities and religious groups. They're funded by donations from individuals and sometimes local authorities or central government. I'm going to quickly discuss community support as well. So some national charities also provide services within local communities. Community organisations are non-profit making, so they're not out there to make money. They're working at a local level to support the particular needs of people living in the same neighbourhood. So a neighbourhood in, for example, our area, West Sussex, could be completely different to that of someone living in Essex or someone living in Northumberland or someone living in parts of Scotland or Wales. Volunteers in the community support have often experienced similar life events as the people they support. So people that volunteer often have gone through it themselves, like people that work for charities such as Mind, mental health charity, may have experienced mental ill health themselves or family members that have gone through it. Examples of community support are lunch clubs or social clubs. Food banks. Food banks are very, very popular at the moment and quite rightly so, to support those people who have lost their jobs, for example, through COVID, being made redundant, that they can help ensure that people within the community are receiving food and are able to live. Transport to get people to and from hospital appointments. People can volunteer to take people, especially the elderly, to and from hospital appointments, especially if they can't drive or have a visual impairment. And also groups or volunteers may be able to visit older people in care homes, which is a great form of community support. In times of needs, people often turn to religion and perhaps their local faith-based organisation or church or mosque or synagogue. Faith-based organisations are formed by groups of individuals who share religious or spiritual beliefs. Faith-based organisations have traditionally supported people in their spiritual and cultural needs, but they also take on wider responsibilities of community groups. They might help the food banks, they might help raise money for perhaps charities abroad as well, or they might raise money for the local homeless shelter. So they're very, very important within our community. As we reach our last slide, this is volunteers. Volunteers work for free. However, voluntary organisations do also employ qualified people who are paid from the donations that they raise. I hope this PowerPoint has assisted you in learning AIM B.